Guten Tag, Mesami, wie geht's? Moi, Dieter, ich bin Dieter. Morning coffee on Christmas Eve with Dieter. So Dieter knows another burning question in the backs of all your minds, you guitarists. Is there such a thing as a guitar mafia? Let's investigate this, shall we? Now, Dieter says he likes to help, and he does like to help. Because he taught lessons for a few years, and mostly beginners and intermediates. But he found that, when most people buy guitars, they don't do enough research. So, like most things, you're going to buy what's available, right? So this is why Dieter is putting it out there for you to ponder and think, is there a guitar mafia? So he asked his friend Vito Corleone and Sonny Corleone. I didn't kiss their hands because I don't think Marlon Brando's alive anymore, and he wasn't really mafia, or was he? Anyway, the reason I'm posting this is just some food for thought. So I had a student, an older guy, nice guy. He had a nice, I think it was a Yamaha or was it a Yamaha or a Simon Patrick or a Godin guitar, and his buddies had a bluegrass band. Thanks, Grandpa, dude. That's what is bluegrass. I said some kind of folky band, and these are his friends for like 20, 30 years. These guys were in their 50s or 60s at the time. And they actually stopped him. They said, you can't, they kicked him out of their band, because he didn't have a Martin guitar. Hey, you're not playing in a band unless you have a Martin guitar. Seems a bit heavy-handed to me. I guess you call that a local mafia. But the reason I'm saying this is I have a friend who has a guitar shop, and the American market, you have to understand, is 10 times the size of the Canadian market. So in Canada, unless you're part of Long and McQuaid, which is the equivalent, I guess, of a Guitar Center, I would think in a free market society, you should be able to sell anything you want, right? Wrong. Now, I know Long and McQuaid has some kind of deal with Fender and Gibson. And even though Godin, which is a Canadian company, and Larrivee, which used to be a Canadian company, are two fine guitar makers, and Godin is the largest guitar maker, last time I checked, largest manufacturer in the world. If you walk into a Long and McQuaid store in Canada, they will sell you a Godin or a Larrivee. But good luck trying to find the one you want there, because they'll have literally 1,000 guitars in stock, and 900 of them will be Fenders or Gibsons. And they'll have a few Yamahas and a few Larrivees and a few Godins. So that's all you have. So because most people starting out, they're going to buy what's there. So that's why most people, even in Canada, when they start, their first guitar they'll say is a Fender or a Gibson, because that's what they're inundated with. So now, I don't know. I would think if I was a proprietor in a smaller town, let's say 100,000 people or so, I would want to be able to sell what my customer base asked for and wanted. So I'll give you another case in point. I have a friend whose family had a business for a long time, and he has a small guitar shop now. And he was selling, in the beginning, he had a bigger place in the beginning. He's got a smaller place now, half the size. So he cut down because he had to buy physical size. But he was selling quite a few Taylors and quite a few Martins. And he sold Breedloves, and he sold basically anything he could get. If you went in there and asked him, and you said, I'm interested in this, and you gave him a deposit, he'd get it for you. But interesting enough, after I think a year or two, uh, he would put in his order to Taylor, and they would say no. Like he'd want like 8 of this certain model. I forget what model. Well, he had a couple models that were selling well, so he'd order like 6 or 8 of those. And they'd say no, no. You have to if we send you 6 or 8 of those. No, you have to order 24 guitars this month. So he's a small guy. He can't hold 24 guitars. And when only 8 of those 24 he knew he could sell. So isn't that like mafia style tactics? So they took away his Taylor dealership, and he was selling quite a few Taylors, but he wasn't selling enough Taylors and enough of the Taylors that Taylor wanted him to sell, which probably were not their models that weren't selling that well. So, fast forward to just 2 years ago, he was selling quite a few Martins. That's where I tried. I might have told you I've played a lot of Martins and Taylors. I have, because this guy had a shop, and I spent a lot of time in there. I tried out everything he had. That's where I found Yaris, and I got him actually. It's selling Bouchers, because I took my Boucher in there, and he played it. He couldn't put it down. He won't admit it, but that's the truth. Anyway, fast forward to just a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, then Martin started doing the same thing. And he was selling quite a few Martins. Martins and Taylors were 2 of his best sellers. But he wasn't selling what they wanted him to sell. So he was surprised, because he had no problems with Martin in the beginning. So he put in his order for, I don't know, the month for 12 Martin guitars. And they said, no. We want you to sell this, this, and this, and this. And unless you buy 20 guitars, we're not sending you any. Well done. Now, as far as I know, Boucher doesn't do that. Yamaha doesn't do that. Breedlove doesn't do that. Godin doesn't do that. Yari doesn't do that. Takamine doesn't do that. So, makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Food for thought. Hey, you've got to sell these 3 overpriced Taylors, Martins, Gibsons, and Fenders, or the next time you sell your guitar strings, all your G strings will be cut. What do you think of that? No. No influence here. No influence.
Anyway, have a Merry Christmas. Happy plucking maize and me. And that's just food for thought, because I think that's kind of heavy-handed. And what I was getting to is, your average buyer. And I think Martin, Taylor, Gibson, Fender, they know this. If you can monopolize the market, especially in big cities, and you have a deal with the big box store that's selling guitars, and you got a deal that 80% of the stuff they display is going to be your stuff, well, that's what I call free choice. Right? How free is it? Anyway, I have size 12 feet. Don't make me wear a size 10 shoe. I'm not going to be happy. Wiedersehen.